A night that changed everything. The emergency room at Chicago Memorial Hospital buzzed with its usual chaos. Diana Hayes wiped the sweat from her forehead as she finished.
Oh,
Stitching up a construction worker who had fallen from scaffolding, her hands moved with practiced precision. Stitch a testament to the 7 years she had spent perfecting her craft as a trauma surgeon. It was nearly midnight when the ambulance sirens wailed outside. Diana looked up from her paperwork, already moving toward the bay doors. The paramedics rushed in with a stretcher, carrying a small boy, maybe 8 years old, his face pale and twisted in pain. Gunshot wound to the shoulder. The paramedics shouted over the noise. Lost a lot of blood. Blood pressure dropping fast. Diana's training kicked in immediately. She barked orders to the nurses, her voice calm but commanding. Get me to units of O negative, stat. Prep surgery room 3. Someone page anesthesia now. The boy's eyes fluttered open, tears streaming down his cheeks. My uncle, he whispered. Please save my uncle too. You will, sweetheart, Diana promised, even though she had no idea if another victim was coming. But right now, I need you to stay strong for me. As they rushed the boy towards surgery, Diana caught sight of a man bursting through the ER doors. He was tall, probably 6'3", with dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to cut through everything in their path. His expensive suit was disheveled, and there was blood on his white shirt, though he did not seem injured. Where is he? The man demanded, his voice carrying an authority that made even the security guards hesitate. Where is Michael? Sir, you need to wait in the lobby. A nurse tried to intervene, but the man brushed past her like she was invisible. Diana stopped, turning to face him. Are you family? I'm his uncle. Vincenzo Romano. The name seemed to carry weight that Diana did not fully understand. Is he going to make it? I'm going to do everything I can, Diana said firmly, but I need you to let me work. Every second counts. Something in her voice must have reached him because Vincent nodded, stepping back. But those intense blue eyes never left her face. Studying her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable, the surgery that tested everything 3 hours later. Diana emerged from surgery, exhausted but satisfied. The boy would recover. The bullet had missed major arteries by mere millimeters. It was the kind of surgery that reminded her why she had chosen this brutal, beautiful profession. Vincenzo Romano was still in the waiting room, pacing like a caged animal. The moment he saw Diana, he stopped, his entire body tensing. He's stable, Diana said before he could ask. The surgery went well. He will need time to heal, but he is going to be fine. The relief that washed over Vincent's face was so profound that Diana felt something shift in her chest. This was not just any uncle worried about his nephew. This was a man who had been prepared to lose someone he loved. Thank you, Vincent said, his voice rough. Thank you for saving him. It's my job, Diana replied, but she smiled. You can see him in about an hour once he wakes up from anesthesia. As she turned to leave, Vincent reached out, his hand gently touching her arm. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through Diana's system. I'm sorry, but have we met before? Vincent asked, his eyes searching her face with that same intense scrutiny. You look familiar. Diana shook her head. I don't think so. I would remember. But Vincent did not let go. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, his gaze moving to the side of her face, specifically to the area behind her left ear where Diana's hair had fallen back during surgery. His face went completely white. That mark, he whispered, his voice barely audible. Behind your ear? Instinctively, Diana's hand went to the birthmark she had carried her entire life. A crescent moon shape, about the size of a dime, hidden behind her left ear. It was so distinctive that people often asked if it was a tattoo. What about it? Diana asked, feeling suddenly defensive. Vincent stumbled backward, his hand going to his chest as if he had been struck. Tommy, the driver who had been waiting silently in the corner, rushed forward to steady his boss. Boss, you okay? Tommy asked, concern evident in his weathered face. It's impossible, Vincent muttered, more to himself than to Diana. What? It's exactly the same. Exactly. Diana felt a chill run down her spine. Sir, are you feeling all right? Do you need medical attention? Vincent shook his head, seeming to collect himself. But when he looked at Diana again, there was something different in his eyes. Something between wonder and fear. "I'm sorry, Dr. Hayes," he said, reading her name tag. "I should let you get back to work." The fundraiser that changed lives 2 weeks later, Diana found herself at the hospital's annual fundraiser. She hated these events, the forced mingling with wealthy donors who wrote checks to ease their consciences. But Dr. Patricia Moore, her mentor and the hospital's chief of surgery, had insisted. "You saved that Romano child," Patricia had said. "Vincent Romano has indicated he wants to make a substantial donation. The least you can do is show up and smile." Diana wore a simple black dress and had her dark hair pulled back in an elegant twist. She was making small talk with a board member when she felt eyes on her. She turned to find Vincent Romano standing across the room, a glass of whiskey in his hand. Staring at her with that same intense expression from the hospital, he looked different in his tuxedo. More polished, but also more dangerous somehow. There was an edge to him that Diana had not noticed in the chaos of the emergency. Vincent crossed the room with deliberate steps, ignoring several people who tried to get his attention. "Dr. Hayes," he said when he reached her, "I was hoping you would be here. Da-da-da-da-da-da." "Mr. Romano," Diana replied, keeping her voice professional. "How is Michael recovering?" "He's doing well, thanks to you." Vincent paused, then added, "I've made arrangements to establish a trauma center wing in your name. The hospital will have the resources to save even more lives." Diana blinked, stunned. "That's incredibly generous, but surely not necessary." "It's necessary to me." Vincent's voice dropped lower. "Dr. Hayes, I need to ask you something personal. That birthmark behind your ear, have you always had it?" The question caught Diana off guard. "Yes, since birth, as far as I know." "Why?" Vincent pulled out his phone, scrolling through photos until he found what he was looking for. He turned the screen toward Diana. The woman in the photo was beautiful, with long dark hair and warm brown eyes. She was laughing at something off camera, her head tilted in a way that revealed a crescent moon birthmark behind her left ear. It was identical to Diana's in every detail. "This was my wife, Rebecca," Vincent said quietly. "She died 2 years ago." Diana stared at the photo, her heart pounding. The resemblance was striking, but it was the birthmark that made her blood run cold. Identical birthmarks were rare, but not impossible. But something about this felt different. Wrong. "I don't understand," Diana whispered. "Neither do I," Vincent admitted. "But I intend to find out." "That birthmark is not genetic, Dr. Hayes. Rebecca and I tried to have children. The doctors told us it was some kind of mark that had been made when she was very young. And now here you are, with the exact same mark in the exact same place." Diana's mind raced. Her childhood was a blur of foster homes and a brief stay at an orphanage when she was very young. She had no memory of her biological parents, no information about her early years beyond fragmented images and feelings. "What are you suggesting?" Diana asked. Though part of her already knew the answer, Vincent's eyes met hers, and in them, Diana saw a mix of determination and something that looked almost like hope. "I'm suggesting that someone marked you both for a reason," Vincent said, "and I'm going to find out why, even if it means uncovering secrets that people have killed to keep hidden." At that moment, Diana's phone buzzed. She looked down at the screen and felt her blood turn to ice. It was a text from an unknown number. "Stay away from Vincent Romano if you want to live. Some secrets are meant to stay buried." Diana looked up at Vincent, her hand trembling slightly as she showed him the message. His face hardened, and she saw a glimpse of the dangerous man beneath the polished exterior. "It's already started," Vincent said grimly. "Someone knows we have connected. Which means whatever Rebecca was investigating before she died, it's not over." "What was she investigating?" Diana asked, though she was not sure she wanted to know the answer. "The truth about where she came from," Vincent replied. "And now it seems where you came from too." Secrets from the past. Diana could not sleep that night. She lay in her small apartment, staring at the ceiling as the threatening text message played over and over in her mind. At 3 in the morning, she finally gave up and made coffee. Sitting at her kitchen table with her laptop open, She typed in the name of the orphanage. She vaguely remembered from her childhood. St. Michael's Home for Children in Chicago. The website was basic, showing smiling kids and cheerful staff members. Nothing sinister. Nothing that explained the identical birthmarks or the threatening message. Her phone rang, making her jump. It was Vincent. "You're awake," he said without preamble. "How did you know?" "Because I am too." "Can we meet?" "There's someone I want you to talk to." An hour later, Diana found herself in a coffee shop that was just opening for the early morning crowd. Vincent was already there, and beside him sat a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense expression.
"Dr. Hayes, this is Grace Mitchell."
Vincent introduced them. "She's a private investigator. One of the best." Grace extended her hand, her grip firm and confident. "Mr. Romano has filled me in on the situation. I've already started pulling records on St. Michael's Orphanage." "That was fast," Diana said, sliding into the booth. "I don't waste time," Grace replied. "And what I've found so far is interesting. St. Michael's operated from 1985 to 2005. During those years, it processed over 300 children through their system. But here's where it gets strange. At least 40 children who passed through that orphanage have disappeared from all records after they left." Diana felt her stomach drop. Disappeared how? No Social Security activity? No tax records? No medical records? It's like they vanished into thin air. Grace pulled out a folder and spread photos across the table. Rebecca Romano was at St. Michael's from 1993 to 1995, ages 4 to 6. According to the records I could find, you were there from 1995 to 1997, ages 2 to 4. "We overlapped," Diana whispered. "About 6 months," Grace confirmed. "But here's the thing. None of the staff records from that time period exist anymore. The orphanage claims there was a fire in 2005 that destroyed most of their old files." "Convenient," Vincent muttered, his jaw tight. Grace nodded. "Very, but I did manage to track down someone who worked there during your time. Father Joseph Bennett. He's retired now, living in a care facility on the north side. He agreed to talk to us." The priest who remembered Father Joseph Bennett was 83 years old, his hands shaking with palsy as he poured tea in the common room of the care facility. But his eyes were clear and sharp when he looked at Diana. "I remember you," he said softly. Little Diana with the curious eyes, always asking questions about everything. Diana felt tears prick her eyes. "I don't remember much from that time. You were very young," Father Bennett said kindly. Then his gaze shifted to Vincent. "And you must be asking about Rebecca." "Yes, I remember her too. Such a sweet child, always trying to take care of the younger ones." "Father, we need to know about the birthmarks," Vincent said, leaning forward. "Both Diana and Rebecca have identical marks behind their left ears. Do you know anything about that?" The priest's face clouded over. His teacup rattled as he set it down. "I was afraid someone would come asking about that eventually." The room went silent. Diana could hear her own heartbeat. "There was a doctor," Father Bennett began slowly. "Dr. James Hartford. He came to the orphanage several times a year, supposedly doing health checkups on the children. But some of the children he examined would come back with that mark. We were told it was a medical identification system, in case the children got lost or needed emergency care." "But that's not what it was," Grace said. "It was not a question." Father Bennett shook his head, tears now streaming down his weathered face. "I didn't realize until much later. By then, so many children had already been marked. Dr. Hartford was part of something dark. An organization that was trafficking children to wealthy families who couldn't adopt through legal means." Diana's hands clenched into fists. "You're saying we were merchandise?" "I'm saying you were children who were supposed to disappear," Father Bennett corrected gently. "But something went wrong with both of you. Rebecca's adoptive family was legitimate. They didn't know about the trafficking ring. They thought they were going through a private but legal adoption. And you, Diana, you were never supposed to be adopted at all according to the mark you received. But the family who took you did it through official channels before Hartford's people could interfere." Vincent stood abruptly, pacing to the window. "Rebecca was investigating this before she died. She found something, didn't she?" Father Bennett nodded. "She came to see me about 6 months before her death. She had tracked down other children with the mark. Some had disappeared. Others had ended up in terrible situations. She was building a case to expose the whole operation. And someone killed her for it, Diana said, the pieces falling into place. I believe so, the priest confirmed. I told her to go to the police, to the FBI, but she said she needed more evidence first. She said the network reached higher than anyone realized. Grace had been taking notes furiously. Father, do you know if Dr. Hartford is still alive? He died in 2006, Father Bennett said. Car accident, they said. But Rebecca didn't think it was an accident. She thought he was killed to keep him quiet. The friend who knew too much back at the hospital that evening. Diana tried to focus on her rounds, but her mind kept returning to Father Bennett's revelations. She was so distracted that she almost walked past her friend Karen Wu in the hallway. Diana, wait up, Karen called, jogging to catch her. Karen was a nurse in the pediatric ward, and they had been friends since Diana's residency. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Diana hesitated, then made a decision. Can we talk somewhere private? They ended up in an empty conference room. Diana told Karen everything. The birthmark, Rebecca, the trafficking ring, the threats. Karen listened without interrupting, her face growing more serious with each revelation. This is insane, Karen said when Diana finished. But it explains something that's been bothering me. What do you mean? Karen pulled out her phone, scrolling through her photos. Remember last month when I worked that case with the abandoned child found in Grant Park? The little girl, maybe 5 years old, no identification? Diana nodded. She had consulted on the case briefly. Look at this, Karen said, turning her phone to show a photo. It was a medical chart, and there, clearly visible in the intake photo, was a small crescent moon mark behind the child's left ear. Diana's blood ran cold. Did anyone report her missing? No, Karen said grimly. It's like she appeared out of nowhere. Social services has her now. But Diana, what if this is still happening? What if the ring is still operating? Before Diana could respond, her phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. You were warned. Now you'll learn what happens to people who ask too many questions. Check on your little patient, Michael Romano. Diana's heart stopped. She grabbed Karen's arm. The pediatric ICU. Now. They ran through the hallways, Diana's mind filled with horrible possibilities. When they burst into the PICU, they found chaos. Alarms were blaring and nurses were rushing toward Michael's room. Diana pushed through, her medical training overriding her panic. Michael was seizing, his small body convulsing on the bed. His IV bag hung beside him, nearly empty. What happened? Diana demanded, already checking his vitals. I don't know, the attending nurse stammered. He was fine 10 minutes ago, and then suddenly he started seizing. Diana's eyes went to the forebag. Something was wrong. The fluid looked slightly cloudy. Karen, get that IV bag to the lab immediately. Someone poisoned him. The next hour was a blur of emergency treatment. Diana worked alongside the pediatric team to stabilize Michael, administering anti-seizure medication and flushing his system. Vincent arrived within minutes, Tommy close behind, both men looking ready to kill someone who did this. Vincent demanded, his voice deadly calm. We don't know yet, Diana said, not taking her eyes off Michael's monitors. But someone tampered with his phone. They wanted to send a message. They sent it, Vincent said. And now I'm sending one back. The evidence that changed everything 2 days later. Michael was stable, but Vincent had moved him to a private facility with security that rivaled the Pentagon. Diana found herself in Vincent's downtown office. Sprawling space on the 40th floor with views of Lake Michigan. Grace was there too, along with a woman Diana did not recognize. She was in her 30s, wearing a dark suit and carrying herself with the confidence of someone used to authority. Dr. Hayes, this is Agent Lisa Park. Vincent introduced them. She's with the FBI's Human Trafficking Division. Diana shook the agent's hand. You're investigating this? We've been investigating an adoption and trafficking ring operating in the Midwest for 3 years, Agent Park said. Your wife's name came up in our investigation, Mr. Romano. We believe she uncovered part of the network before her death. Then why didn't you protect her? Vincent's voice was hard. We didn't know she was in danger until it was too late, Agent Park said quietly. But now we have another chance, Dr. Hayes, that child in Grant Park that your friend mentioned. She's the break we've been waiting for. Someone slipped up. She was supposed to be delivered to a family in Seattle, but something went wrong. She escaped. A 5-year-old escaped. Diana asked incredulously. She's smart, Agent Park said. And lucky. But here's the thing. We've been monitoring the organization's communication channels. They're panicking because of you. Dr. Hayes, because you connected with Mr. Romano, because you're both asking questions. Grace spread a series of documents across the conference table. I've been digging deeper into the financial records. The trafficking ring is run by a man named Richard Blackwood. He's a businessman, ostensibly legitimate. Owns several companies, including a chain of private medical clinics. Diana felt sick. Let me guess. Dr. Hartford worked for him. Bingo, Grace confirmed. Hartford did the marking, identified which children would be easy to move through the system. Blackwood handled the business end, connecting wealthy buyers with children. And he's still operating, Agent Park added. We've been trying to build a case against him for years, but he's careful. Insulated by layers of shell companies and intermediaries. But Rebecca Romano got closer than anyone else. She had evidence that directly linked Blackwood to at least 15 illegal adoptions. Where's that evidence? Vincent asked. We don't know, Agent Park admitted. We think she hid it somewhere before she was killed. We've searched her office, your home, everywhere we could think of. But wherever she put it, she made sure it stayed hidden. Diana's mind was racing. Rebecca had been smart, careful. If she was investigating something this dangerous, she would have left the evidence somewhere safe. Somewhere only someone she trusted would think to look. What about St. Michael's? Diana asked suddenly. The orphanage. If Rebecca was investigating her own past, maybe she hid the evidence there. Grace shook her head. The building was demolished in 2010. It's a parking lot now. Diana slumped in her chair, frustrated. Then another thought struck her. Father Bennett said Rebecca came to see him 6 months before she died. What if she left something with him? Vincent was already pulling out his phone. Grace, get back to that care facility now. But before Grace could move, Diana's phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made her answer it. Dr. Hayes, a smooth, cultured voice said, My name is Richard Blackwood. I think it's time we had a conversation. The man behind the curtain, Diana's hand trembled as she held the phone. Vincent immediately gestured for her to put it on speaker, while Agent Park began frantically signaling for a trace. Mr. Blackwood, Diana said, trying to keep her voice steady. I have nothing to say to you. Oh, but I have plenty to say to you, Blackwood replied, his tone almost friendly. You've been asking questions about things that don't concern you. Making trouble for a lot of people. You mean making trouble for child traffickers? Diana shot back. Blackwood chuckled, a sound that made Diana's skin crawl. Such ugly words for a mutually beneficial arrangement. I connected children who needed homes with families who desperately wanted them. Everyone won, except the children who were stolen from their families, Vincent interjected, his voice like ice. Except my wife, who you had murdered. There was a pause on the line. Ah, Mr. Romano, I should have known you would be involved. Your wife was a remarkable woman. Intelligent, determined, and ultimately foolish. She didn't understand that some battles can't be won. Where's the evidence she collected? Agent Park demanded. Special Agent Park, I presume, Blackwood said smoothly. I've been monitoring your investigation with great interest. The evidence Rebecca Romano collected no longer exists. I made sure of that. Then why are you calling? Diana asked. Because you, Dr. Hayes, are a loose end I need to tie up. You see, you weren't supposed to survive. That mark behind your ear designated you for a special client, someone who paid a premium, but you slipped through our fingers. And now here you are, all grown up and causing problems. Diana felt bile rise in her throat. I was 4 years old. Yes, well, some of our clients had particular preferences, Blackwood said, and the casual evil in his voice made Diana want to scream. But that's ancient history now. What matters is that you're going to stop asking questions. You're going to forget about Rebecca Romano, About St. Michael's, about all of it. And if I don't? Diana challenged. Then I'll make sure you disappear just like so many others, Blackwood said simply. Think about it, Dr. Hayes. You have a nice life, a good career. Why throw it all away for something that happened decades ago? The line went dead. Agent Park swore under her breath. We couldn't get a trace. He was using a scrambler. Vincent's face was hard as stone. He's scared. If he wasn't, he wouldn't have called. He's trying to intimidate Diana into backing off, which means we're close to something. Or he's planning to kill her, Grace said bluntly. That call was a warning, but it was also reconnaissance. He wanted to know where she was, who she was with. Diana stood abruptly, moving to the window. The city sprawled below her, millions of people going about their lives, unaware of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. She thought about the little girl in Grant Park, about Rebecca, about all the children who had been marked and stolen. I'm not backing off, she said firmly, turning to face the others. Whatever it takes, we're bringing him down. The hidden message that night, Grace returned from the care facility with a manila envelope. Father Bennett had given it to her with shaking hands, explaining that Rebecca had left it with him for safekeeping 2 weeks before her death. She made me promise that if anything happened to her, I should give this to someone who came asking the right questions, Father Bennett had told Grace. Someone who had the mark. Vincent opened the envelope carefully. Inside were photographs, documents, and a letter in Rebecca's handwriting. Vincent's hands shook as he unfolded the letter. My dearest Vincent, he read aloud, his voice catching. If you're reading this, then I'm gone. I'm sorry for the secrets, sorry for putting you in danger by association. But I couldn't let this go. Too many children have suffered. Too many families have been destroyed. Diana moved closer, reading over Vincent's shoulder as he continued. I've documented everything I could find about the trafficking ring. Richard Blackwood is the head, but he's not working alone. There are doctors, lawyers, judges, and social workers all taking payoffs to look the other way. The network reaches into every level of child services. Vincent paused, taking a shaky breath before continuing. I've hidden the full evidence somewhere safe, somewhere only someone like me would think to look. The key is in the place where lost children go to find hope. Where I found mine. What does that mean? Agent Park asked, frustrated. But Diana's mind was already racing. Where would Rebecca have found hope as a child in the orphanage system? She closed her eyes, trying to think like a frightened little girl looking for comfort. The library, she said suddenly. St. Michael's had a small library. Father Bennett mentioned it. He said Rebecca loved to read, that she would spend hours there. But the building is gone, Grace reminded her. Yes, but what if she hid the evidence in a library? Diana's excitement grew. Vincent, did Rebecca have a favorite library? Somewhere she went regularly? Vincent's eyes widened. The Harold Washington Library. She volunteered there every Saturday morning, working with children. She loved that place. Within an hour, they were at the library. It had closed for the night, but Vincent's connections got them access with a security guard escort. They made their way to the children's section, a colorful space filled with small chairs and bright murals. What are we looking for? Grace asked, scanning the shelves. Diana moved slowly through the space, trying to think like Rebecca. If she wanted to hide something in plain sight, where would it be? Her eyes landed on a display case near the reading corner. It held special edition children's books, some quite old and valuable. And there, on the second shelf, was a copy of The Secret Garden, one of the most famous stories about orphaned children finding hope. There, Diana pointed. Vincent carefully opened the display case and removed the book. It was heavier than it should be. He opened it to find the pages had been hollowed out, creating a space that held a USB drive. She was brilliant, Vincent whispered, clutching the book to his chest. Back at Vincent's office, they plugged the USB drive into a secure computer. What they found was damning. Spreadsheets detailing hundreds of illegal adoptions, wire transfer records showing millions of dollars changing hands, and most importantly, recorded phone conversations between Blackwood and his associates discussing specific children by their marks. This is enough to bring him down, Agent Park said, her voice filled with satisfaction, and half his network with him. But Grace was frowning at one of the documents. Look at this. There's a notation here about a current operation. Something called Project Renewal. Diana leaned in to read. Her blood turned to ice. They're planning to start marking children again. The little girl from Grant Park, she was a test case. They're targeting children in the foster system, kids who won't be missed. When? Vincent demanded. According to this, they have a shipment scheduled for next week, Grace said. 12 children being moved from Chicago to various locations overseas. Agent Park was already on her phone calling for backup. We need to move now. If Blackwood gets spooked, those children will disappear forever. The final confrontation, the FBI raid, was planned for dawn, but Diana could not sleep. She stood in Vincent's office, watching the city lights, thinking about all the children who had suffered because people like Blackwood treated them as commodities. Vincent joined her at the window, 2 glasses of whiskey in his hands. He offered her one, and she took it gratefully. Rebecca would be proud of you, Vincent said quietly. Of us. We're finishing what she started. I wish I had known her, Diana admitted. Really known her, not just shared a building for a few months when we were too young to remember. She was extraordinary, Vincent said, his voice thick with emotion. Brave and kind and determined to make the world better. When I lost her, I thought I'd lost everything. But this investigation, meeting you, it's given me purpose again. Diana looked at him, really looked at him. Somewhere along the way, this dangerous man with his dark connections and darker past had become important to her, more than just an ally in seeking justice. What happens after tomorrow? She asked. After Blackwood is arrested and the children are safe, Vincent set down his glass and turned to face her fully. I don't know, but I'd like to find out if you're willing. Before Diana could respond, Vincent's phone rang. It was Agent Park. We have a problem, the agent said, without preamble. Blackwood knows we're coming. Someone tipped him off. He's moving the children tonight instead of next week. Where? Vincent demanded. Private airfield outside the city. We're mobilizing now, but we might not get there in time. Vincent was already moving, grabbing his coat. Then we don't wait. Tommy, bring the car around? Grace, I need every man you can get to that airfield in the next 20 minutes. Vincent, this is an FBI operation, Agent Park protested. And those are children about to be stolen, Vincent shot back. I don't care about jurisdiction. I care about stopping this. Diana grabbed her own coat. I'm coming with you. Diana, it's too dangerous, Vincent argued. Those children might need medical attention, Diana said firmly. And besides, I've come this far. I'm not sitting on the sidelines now. The drive to the airfield was tense and silent. Tommy pushed the car to its limits, weaving through late-night traffic. Behind them, a convoy of FBI vehicles followed, along with cars carrying Vincent's own security team. The airfield was dark when they arrived, lit only by a few security lights. A small private plane sat on the tarmac, its engines already warming up. Diana could see figures moving around it, loading cargo that included children. Agent Park coordinated with her team, setting up a perimeter. We go in quiet, she instructed. We don't want them hurting the kids in panic. But as they moved into position, shots rang out. Someone had spotted them. Oh, so much for quiet, Grace muttered, drawing her own weapon. What followed was chaos. FBI agents swarmed the plane while Blackwood's people returned fire. Diana stayed behind a vehicle, her heart pounding, watching as Vincent moved with Tommy and his men toward the aircraft. More shots. A scream. Then Diana saw her. A little girl, maybe 6 years old, running from the plane in terror, directly into the line of fire. Diana did not think. She just moved, sprinting across the tarmac, toward the child. She grabbed the girl, shielding her with her own body as bullets whizzed past them. Strong arms grabbed them both. Vincent hauled Diana and the child behind a concrete barrier, his body covering theirs. What the hell were you thinking? He shouted over the gunfire. I was thinking about saving her, Diana shouted back. The girl was crying, trembling violently. Diana held her close, whispering soothing words while Vincent coordinated with his men on his phone. The gunfire finally stopped. FBI agents had secured the plane and were leading several men away in handcuffs. Diana saw Richard Blackwood among them, his expensive suit rumpled, his face twisted with rage. Agent Park approached the barrier where Diana, Vincent, and the little girl huddled. "It's safe now. We've got them all." Diana slowly stood, still holding the child. The girl looked up at her with wide eyes. "You saved me," the girl whispered. "Yes, sweetheart," Diana said gently. "And you're going to be okay now. I promise." As the FBI led the children to safety, Diana noticed something. The little girl had pushed back her hair, revealing a small crescent moon mark behind her left ear. Vincent saw it too. His hand found Diana's, squeezing tightly. 12 children, Agent Park reported. All marked. All destined for buyers overseas. But they're safe now, thanks to you. Diana watched as the children were wrapped in blankets and given water. They looked scared and confused, but alive, safe. "It's not enough," she said quietly. 12 children saved, but how many others over the years? How many we couldn't save? "We can't change the past," Vincent said, "but we can make sure it doesn't happen again." Rebecca started this fight. We're going to finish it. The new beginning, 3 months later, Diana stood in a newly renovated building in downtown Chicago. The sign above the door read, "The Rebecca Romano Center for Trafficked Children," a facility dedicated to helping children who had been rescued from trafficking situations. The center offered medical care, therapy, legal assistance, and most importantly, hope. Diana had left her position at the hospital to run the medical program. Using her skills to help children heal from their traumas, Vincent had funded the entire operation, pouring his resources into creating something beautiful from the tragedy of Rebecca's death. He split his time between his business ventures and working with lawmakers to strengthen laws against child trafficking. Grace Mitchell had been hired as the center's security director, ensuring that the children under their care would always be protected. And Agent Lisa Park served as their liaison with law enforcement, helping to identify and rescue more children. The little girl from the airfield, whose name was Jasmine, had been reunited with her grandmother, who had been searching for her for 2 years. But she still came to the center twice a week for therapy. And she always asked to see Diana. Richard Blackwood had been sentenced to life in prison without parole. 14 of his associates had also been convicted, and the investigation continued to unravel more of the network. It would take years to prosecute everyone involved. But the work had begun. On the evening of the center's grand opening, Diana stood with Vincent on the rooftop terrace, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Do you think Rebecca would approve?" Diana asked. "I think she would love it," Vincent said, his arm around Diana's shoulders. "This is everything she fought for. Children being protected, families being reunited, justice being served." Diana leaned into him, feeling a peace she had not known in months. The journey had been painful, dangerous, and heartbreaking. But it had also brought her to this moment, to this place, to this man who had become her partner in every sense of the word. "I found something yesterday," Diana said, pulling a small box from her pocket. "When we were cleaning out Rebecca's things for the center's memorial wall," she opened the box to reveal 2 halves of a heart-shaped locket. One half had been Rebecca's. The other had belonged to a little girl at St. Michael's. A friend Rebecca had made during her time there. "She kept it all those years," Vincent said, his voice thick with emotion, even though she couldn't remember who the other half belonged to. Diana fastened one half of the locket around her own neck, next to the necklace she had worn since childhood. The other half she placed on a chain for Vincent. She was trying to find her way back, Diana said. Back to the people who mattered, to the truth, to justice. And in a way she did. Through us, Vincent pulled Diana close, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was both tender and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, tears streamed down both their faces. "I love you," Vincent said simply. "I didn't think I could feel this way again after losing Rebecca. But you've shown me that there's life after grief, purpose after tragedy." "I love you too," Diana whispered. And I think Rebecca brought us together. Her investigation, her courage, her determination to save children she would never meet. It led us both to this moment. Below them, they could hear laughter and music from the opening celebration. Children playing, families reuniting, hope being rebuilt one person at a time. Father Joseph Bennett had come to the opening, now 90 years old but still sharp as ever. He had blessed the center and told stories about Rebecca's kindness as a child. He had also brought records he had secretly kept all these years. Documents that would help identify more victims of the trafficking ring. Karen Wu had taken a position at the center as well, leading the medical team that would provide care for the rescued children. She worked alongside Diana, and together they were building something that would outlast them both, as the sun finally dipped below the horizon. Diana and Vincent stood together in the twilight, two people bound by tragedy but choosing hope. The scars of the past would always be there, marked on their bodies and their hearts. But those scars had led them to each other, to purpose, to redemption.